Welcome to Backbreaking News episode 163. Today we're reacting to Backbreaking News episode 24. Today I'm recording on the 21st, but the day this comes out, it's Thanksgiving in the USA. So happy Thanksgiving, watch to the end, and hope you have a happy Thanksgiving. News episode 24. Today we'll be talking about if I could pick if I could make wrestling figures, in my opinion, what would I do to make wrestling figures good for WWE Pacific? Well, the figures have improved some, in my opinion, because now I could use an Elite figure for years. I still have some for like 3 years ago. Before, the figures used to be, very weak in that department where they would only last a year, and then you would have to either get a new character when the arms are loose or, just use that one. WWE, and this topic is all going to be based on what type of sets I would make, what type of wrestlers would be on it. So if I just say I made my own toy company, it would be called actionfigure.com. That would be the website. The actual name of it will be Wrestling Figure Fan. That would be the name of the company. And if WWE gave me the rights then to make a set, the first thing I would do is try to reason with a bunch of wrestlers' families that have been in the Hall of Fame or Hall of Famers that have died and make figures. Okay, I think I was trying to say I would get Owen Hart here, but for obvious reasons, that isn't going to happen. I think I made a video on this topic, but it's because he fell to his death and his wife blames WWE for it. It's the production team, which it's a whole thing. It's a whole controversy with Bret Hart wanting Owen to be remembered by WWE, which I think it should be a part of his immediate family, which basically means brothers, sisters, son, father, mother, people who are your blood, basically. On them, or legends. And the first person that would definitely be in the set would be Owen Hart, if I could reason with, his family, because let's not go there yet, but, You want me to tell you what would be 10 times funnier if after this I mentioned Chris Benoit? The second set, if I was the creator of a wrestling business, the second figure in that set would actually be, I would say the Road Warriors. That it would be like a tag team elite pack, and then the third thing in that set would actually be Bruno Sammartino, because there hasn't been any figures of him in a while. And then I would do a third, and then the fourth, I believe, figure in the set would be, this one is tough, but I would say, Pedro Morales, and then there will be the fifth, which would be, the fifth wrestler in that set would be, I would say, let me guess who this is. Doink the Clown. I think it was Doink the Clown, if I can remember correctly. Let me think about this. If a legend that I would probably see someone like George D'Animo Steele in the set.
That makes more sense than Doink the Clown. But why would it make sense? You gotta make it make sense.
Then I would go to
Controversial wrestlers.
another. And then the next set I would make after that would be a completely different series, which I would focus on, which would be which will be one of the major sets of this unknown wrestlers over the decades. The first one would be Dink the Clown.
Dink.
The first one in this set. The second person in the set would be Adam Bomb. The third person in the set would be...
My first question is, who wants an Adam Bob figure? And the second is, why Dink? If you could have any unknown person, like Mike Knox is not remembered. He was a wrestler. There was like Master J, who was Jesse from Jesse and Festus. Festus was Luke Gallows now. But if I think logically, then there was also if you think about it, if you're talking about forgotten characters or people who you just forget, maybe like the Goon, which is a hockey player gimmick, or maybe like people who were there for a short time, like I forgot what his name was, Tyler Rex, or people like that.
Orlando Jordan. The fourth person in that set would be... It would be Juventud Guerrero, if I could do it. And then the fifth person in the line would be the fake Undertaker.
No one wants the fake Undertaker, trust me.
The sixth would be you know that the Goon, which is a hockey like thing. Then we could do I'm gonna say someone who's Perry Saturn. I mean, at least in WWE he was unknown. That would be the sixth, I believe, or seventh.
I just bullied Perry Saturn there.
Would be the tag team of Hillbilly Jim and Lil Beaver, because they weren't a full-time team, but they deserve to be in a team package.
Who wants to play with Hillbilly Jim and Little Beaver? That's outrageous. That's outrageous. That's outrageous. Why not Uncle Elmer and Hillbilly Jim? I think they were a team for a little bit.
Just because the eighth person or person in the set would be Max Moon, who was an 80s wrestler who was like an Astro.
Poor Conan, he was told to do that. If you don't know who Conan is, I think he was a WCW wrestler, had very good matches, and they made him play Max Moon. You want me to tell you what's even crazier? They made Eddie Guerrero's father play the Gobbledygooker, which was supposed to be the mascot for WWE, but that exploded in their face real quick.
And that failed as soon as it began. And then Saba Simba, which was Tony Atlas in a native headdress. I know that sounds hilarious. The
because
10th
it is.
And final person of this set would be that fake Spider-Man.
Arachnid Man.
Agiskin, the real 10th person in that series would be this one is tough. I'm going to say it would either be in my opinion, someone not well known would probably be either between who's someone I would say someone not that well known in the company. I would say the Brooklyn Brawler. Yeah, the Brooklyn Brawler. Then there will be sets like, you know, the people on the current roster, some legends, you know. But I'm focusing on special sets. The next set I would make is
I think Christopher Welcome's up here.
Series 2 of Hall of Famers and Legends. I would say that this time it would be Kane in the series. There would be Undertaker.
Chris Benoit.
There will be Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So there will be
if I
there
say
will
that,
be
I know it's coming up.
Chief J. Strongbow and his partner, whatever his name was,
Jules.
Something. And then Ricky Steamboat, Demolition, if they could get the deal, and then
If you don't know, Demolition was a part of the lawsuit against WWE, and WWE doesn't like anybody who was a part of that. So Demolition is not on the best terms with WWE right now.
Taking the team, the set would be Eddie Guerrero.
Eddie Guerrero.
8th would be, why not? He's wrestled a while. This person, Pat Patterson. Yeah. The 9th would be, ooh, this is tough because I have to narrow it down. It's hard to pick this between one legend and the series, but I would have to say Hulk Hogan, and then another legend would be Macho Man Randy Savage, and that would be the 4th series of the series 2 of the set. And then we would have series 1 of
controversial figures.
Greatest tag teams. It would be Demolition, the Hardys. They're not in the company, but you still see what.
That actually makes sense.
In my opinion, RK Bro is one of them.
Yeah, RK Bro
will be in the set. Why not? The Iron Sheik and Nikolai Koloff. They were one of the good tag teams. The Wild Samoans.
They died this year.
Legion of Doom, or I forgot the other name for them.
The Road Warriors.
And then another great tag team was, in my opinion, was the Hart Foundation in its full member of Brian Pillman, Owen Hart, British Bulldog.
Yeah, but there's one problem there. Owen Hart, you have to let everyone agree that Owen Hart will be in the set, which, because it's associated with WWE, I could always lie and say, I want to. You could always lie and finesse them and say, this isn't for WWE. We have the AEW figures, you know. We're the new company that does AEW, and just, kind of lie about it. But other than that, there ain't no chance that is ever happening in my lifetime. Never happening in 6 generations down the timeline. Maybe 30, 40 years. Maybe 30, 40 generations when Martha Hart is dead. Long for a long time, then it might happen. You know?
Jim Anvil, Neidhart, and Bret Hart. All of them will be in it, and then the next one would be the entirety of the NWO, which was a WCW tag team, and I would focus on different levels of this. There would be the full team of the original. There would be each NW member ever, if in my opinion, which was a popular WCW team.
That would take like 20, 40, about 60, 70 figures in one pack. The pack would be almost as big as a house. How is it going to fit in a car? How is it going to fit in your house? How is it going to fit in anything? Anything. Bro, that's crazy.
Why not? They were legendary when they first started.
I'm proud of myself for now.
Another I would like to make would be, this would be funny, this would be pretty great. It would be called Halloween action figures. It would be wrestlers and certain. It would be like Halloween stuff like.
I actually didn't mention Chris Benoit. If you don't know who that is, let's just say in better terms, he killed a good portion of his family, his wife, one of his 7-year-old son, his other son and daughter are alive. And then he killed himself. But let's get on a happier topic. Let's continue watching the video.
Be a wrestler dressed up as, let's just say, it would be an Undertaker dressed as a doctor, stuff like that. Stuff like they're not usually dressed as, and they're just.
They did that with zombies and mutants one year, and now they're doing with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I forgot the rest.
But for a Halloween costume, it would be interesting to say. I haven't thought about. I would just release the figures of current day stars with that, but then I would go to I would think I would go to the Legend Series 3, Legend and Hall of Famer season. Series 3, and from there, I would probably have joined the Clown, Jerry the King Lawler.
I know it's coming up. Or did I do a part 2 of this and then mention Chris? Okay, we're going to stop talking about Benoit now, Cody. I don't know why. Just stop. If we want people to forget, you gotta stop talking about it. Okay? You mentioned that a lot. Okay. I really thought I was going to say Chris Benoit. Okay, there I go again. But it was obvious because I believe it's something that you have to talk about, It's dark past the WWE that they're trying to erase him. You can't erase the things that he did. You can't change what he did in his personal time, but you shouldn't not mention him as far as a wrestler. Because if you're looking at people's actions, I think you could look at what they did in the grand scheme of things instead of, what they did in the long run. But that's me. Plus, he had a brain disease, which I made a whole video about this on my wrestling talk. And it was the first ever debate on Wrestling Talk, which said, should Chris Benoit be in the Hall of Fame? And I came up with the conclusion, it's not the right time for that. Maybe in a couple more years. Maybe in another century. You never know what's going to happen. For all I know, it could happen this year. It's just, you can't just throw a brain disease like it's nothing, because if you have brain disease, you're not in the right state of mind, and it's very serious, and football players could get this disease, MMA fighters, boxers, wrestlers, anything you could get a concussion in, you could get CTE from. So all I'm going to say is, if you're going to compete in these sports, don't compete for too long, because this is a weird statistic. Most of the wrestlers that had CTE either died of suicide. Most of them died of suicide because they weren't in the right state of mind because of all the concussions and stuff. And the sad news is, the only way to diagnose and see how severe CTE is by an autopsy. So it was pretty severe for Chris Benoit. So you gotta look at the actions as a whole. As I said, I don't think this topic is too happy, or that's the reason why you gotta know when to be serious. And you know that what he did was terrible. You can't defend what he did, but you can't just ignore every accomplishment he did just because of one bad thing. It's like, if you think about it, if we ignored, let's say, let's pick like some very famous figure that did something bad to get them hated. It's like, you can't ignore someone's accomplishments just because they did something bad or terrible or even worse. In the context of wrestling, Chris Benoit was a good person. In real life, not as much. But you could separate real life from wrestling. That's what you have to do in order to, accept what happened. You have to separate Chris Benoit, the person, from the wrestler. It's kind of simple. His actions were serious. His real life actions, but what he did in the ring was good. They're two separate people. In ring, Chris Benoit, and real life, Chris Benoit are two different people. You gotta look at it that way instead of being like, oh, he did a terrible thing, so he's a terrible wrestler. You can't use that logic with people. Could do terrible things and still be good at what they do. Think of what's his name now? What's his name? Like, I'm trying to think what he did. I'll be right back. For example, him. He's a terrible person. He did terrible things, but if we're talking about him just in the rap career, he probably did good for the business. Not that his actions were good. I'm not defending his actions because they're terrible, but you just can't look at someone's actions and say that they're the worst at something just because they were a terrible person in real life. You have to look at it as far as the industry goes. What did he do good for the industry, or was it bad all the way through? I know this is a huge rant, but I want to make this 30 minutes. And plus, it's just important to talk about in the context, because I already mentioned it more than once, so I thought I would address it in the last 5 minutes. But as I say, you could look at someone as a whole, or you could separate their bad actions and what they did good for the business. Like, Chris Benoit made many iconic moments. He's the reason why chair shots in the head are not allowed any longer. What happened made WWE learn for better. Also, he had many iconic moments, and you cannot just erased that because he was a terrible person in real life. He did good things for the industry, but was a terrible person. Not a terrible person, but someone who couldn't help. Well, he probably, I'm going to say couldn't help what he did loosely because I don't know the whole situation, but you could separate Benoit from him personally to him as a human being. What he did in his professional career compared to his personal life. There's a lot of examples of this. Bill Cosby was a comedian. He did great things for comedians. Was a terrible person. Outside, he went after kids. I'm not defending that because that's a terrible thing. And he was found guilty of that, I think. But his career in comedy probably inspired many great comedians, so his lasting effect on comedians should always stay, even though he did bad stuff, just in his personal life, but not in his professional career. And then there's people like Dan Schneider, who did terrible things both in his personal career and in real life at the same time. So, as I said, you can't separate the guy from... He's the only exception. There's always an exception to the rule. But the thing is, you gotta learn how to... but he made, like, good shows like iCarly. If you look at that piece of it, like, he made shows that are generational. That's something you can't take away from him. But on set, he was a terrible person, which would basically be in real life. You could watch the shows and not hate them just because a guy who created them. You could look at the context of the show instead of, like, this guy's a bad person. This guy's a bad person. I'm not going to watch this. There's simply context in the clues. I'm not defending anybody's actions here. They're terrible people, obviously. Well, they all did terrible things. And they're not worth defending. I'm just saying that you could separate someone for their personal life and their career depending on what they're doing. Like if they're a comedian, let's say someone did terrible things as a comedian. You have to look at their career as a comedian and see what lasted in the what did they do that made comedy better, instead of saying, their comedy is no longer good because they did terrible things. Because if you could separate their real life from their personal from their business life, it's going to, of course, be two different things. Like O.J. Simpson, he most likely actually did murder, apparently. He just had good lawyers. But you can't throw away his whole NF career and never mention he existed just because of... Well, you can, but you can't separate his legacy from the... If you can't separate the legacy from the person... What I'm saying is you have to separate the legacy from the personal life. What did they do? What did they do good in their life? And the bad stuff, you could look at it in context. You could look at it in certain contexts. Like if you're talking about the bad things they do, then you could talk about it. But if you're talking about them as a whole person, you can't throw away what they succeeded just because they're a terrible person. I know that's a bad thing, but it's like... See, it's like some of these people don't even deserve second chances, even if they get it. But everyone deserves to get some amount of respect, as I said, even if it's something very little. But then there's like some extras that are not justifiable at the same time. So what I'm saying is, you could enjoy Chris Benoit matches and what I'm also saying is that you could support someone, or you could enjoy something that someone bad made, as long as you don't support the bad thing they did. You could enjoy it in that context. But another thing you also have to realize is that, let's say politician, you support a politician, you like a politician, but I could say, hey, I agree with half of the things they say. I don't agree with everything. I'm not exactly supporting everything they say, but I'm voting for them because I agree with some of the things they say. You don't have to like everything someone says to vote for them. You know, and people who think that you really need to get a good chick in your life. Because if you have to agree with everything someone says, and if people don't agree with your opinion, it's wrong, and you have to argue and argue and argue till your opinion is right, you shouldn't give those people the time of day. And I'm gonna have to say it's common in political parties like the left and the right. They think that they're so good, they're better than each other. And I like to say I'm better than both of them, because, see, I don't care what your opinions are. I will respect you. If you disrespect someone because of who they vote for, you're a disgusting human being. Okay? I don't care if you voted for Kamala. I don't care if you voted for Trump. I don't even care if you voted for Kennedy. See? It's not that deep, in my opinion. But you have to realize, I know this became like a whole rant, but I thought I should get this thing clear while it was still in the water. One thing I'm not going to say is, politically, I don't like politics in general, but I will talk about it. And that's because that gets attention. But if you have to argue your point and say anybody whose opinion is not yours is wrong, for example, let's say I say that Trump is a terrible person, and anyone who doesn't agree with that is an idiot, and all these other bunch of random things. The same thing goes, like, if I said the same thing about Kamala Harris too. Let's see, because I don't like either one of them, to be honest, but let's just say that someone said that about Kamala Harris, and someone said that about Trump, and let's say for the Kamala, I was a Trump supporter, and I'm like, no, you're wrong. And for the Trump, I was the Kamala supporter, I said, blah, 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 I'm wrong, and you're an idiot. That is a terrible thing to do, because people could have their own opinion, and you want me to tell you if you don't like it, sip it, shut it. And it's really simple. If someone's opinion's bothering you, I can't believe I have to say, just don't speak at all. It's not that hard. But if we're getting into the grand scheme of things, life is never fair. I just felt like this. Everyone has their own opinion, and that's just how life is. I don't have to agree with everything. Let's say, objectively, the only reason why America is divided is because we give no one second chances. We would cancel them right away for stuff they did in 1999, which is irrelevant. You have to give people second chances. The second is the political parties. People go down each other's throat for no reason, just because they're a Democrat or Republican. Like, no one cares who you voted for. No one cares what your opinions. Well, we care about what your opinions are, because everyone has to have some, but no one cares what party you voted for. And no one shouldn't care. If that is how you decide who your friends are, you are crazy. The second thing is, The political parties are dividing America into two. Surprisingly, I thought if Trump didn't win, there would be a civil war. That's how crazy people are about this guy. And then, I thought the same thing would happen if Trump won. There was going to be another civil war. It's like, it's not that deep. It's not. It's really not. People can like who they like, and you want me to tell you what you have to do about it? Zip it, lock it, put it in your pocket. I'm done with my angry rant. Goodbye.